Charlie recognized the man walking into his lobby, a face he thought he'd never see again, a face that should have been dead for 20 years. Prague, 1998, Operation Nightfall. Charlie Martinez had put 3 bullets into Viktor Kozlov's chest and watched him fall into the freezing Vltava River. The CIA had confirmed the kill. The file was closed. The ghost was buried. But ghosts apparently don't stay dead. Now Viktor was here, in the heart of Manhattan, wearing a $3,000 suit, speaking perfect English, signing a lease for apartment 4205 under the name Vincent Kane. And Charlie, who had spent the last 30 years as the superintendent of the most exclusive building on Central Park West, realized his quiet retirement was about to become very, very complicated, because in the world of international espionage, there are no coincidences. There are only operations. And when your deadliest enemy moves into your building, it means one thing. The game has found you again. Welcome to Echo Stories. Before we dive into this incredible story of buried secrets and unfinished business, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. The Meridian was the kind of Manhattan building that didn't advertise. 30 floors of limestone and granite elegance overlooking Central Park, where pharmaceutical executives, Supreme Court justices, and tech billionaires paid 7-figure prices for the privilege of anonymity. Charlie Martinez had been the superintendent here for 3 decades. At 70, he moved with the careful efficiency of a man who understood that in a building worth $500 million, every detail mattered. Residents knew him as the guy who fixed things before they broke, who remembered birthdays, who somehow always had the right solution to any problem. They called him Charlie. Never Carlos, never Mr. Martinez, just Charlie, the reliable, invisible man who kept their world running smoothly. What they didn't know was that before Charlie fixed leaky faucets and managed contractors, he had fixed much bigger problems. Problems that carried guns, problems that spoke 6 languages, problems that disappeared in the middle of the night and were never seen again. The Meridian's residents slept peacefully in their $1-million apartments, completely unaware that their building's maintenance man had once been one of the CIA's most effective operatives. Charlie preferred it that way. It was a Tuesday in September when Viktor Kozlov walked back into Charlie's life. Charlie was in the lobby, reviewing contractor schedules with Mrs. Chen from the building management company, when the elevator opened and he stepped out. Tall, silver-haired, carrying himself with the confident grace of a man who had never been afraid of anything. The recognition hit Charlie like ice water in his veins. 25 years of discipline kept his expression neutral. His hands didn't shake. His voice didn't change when he said goodbye to Mrs. Chen. But inside, every alarm bell from his operational training was screaming. Viktor didn't acknowledge him, didn't even glance in his direction. He walked straight to the concierge desk, speaking in the cultured accent of someone who had learned English at Cambridge or Yale. "I'm here about apartment 4205, Vincent Kane." Charlie forced himself to continue reading his maintenance schedule, but every instinct he'd developed over 25 years of staying alive was focused on the conversation happening 10 feet away. Vincent Kane. Of course, Viktor had always been good with identities. That evening, Charlie did what he had been trained to do: reconnaissance. Vincent Kane had moved into 4205 3 days ago. Lease paid in full, 1 year advance. Credit check perfect. References impeccable. Background clean as a surgical instrument, which meant it was completely fabricated. Charlie accessed the building's security system, a skill that had nothing to do with his superintendent training and everything to do with his CIA background. He reviewed the footage of Viktor's move-in. Minimal furniture, no personal items, 3 identical black suitcases, the kind that blocked X-ray scans, professional setup, Safe house configuration. Charlie had seen enough operation setups to recognize one when it was happening in his own building. The question was, operation against whom? Over the next week, Charlie established patterns. Viktor left every morning at 8:15, returned between 6 and 7 p.m. He received no mail, no packages, no visitors. He paid cash for everything in the building, but Charlie noticed other things. The way Viktor positioned himself in elevators to watch all angles, the micro movements when someone unexpected appeared in the lobby. The fact that his apartment lights followed a rotation pattern designed to simulate occupancy even when he wasn't home. Viktor was operational, still operational, which meant Prague had been personal, but this was business. Charlie began his own counter-surveillance. 30 years of building management had given him access to every corner, every system, every secret of the Meridian. He could move through the building like smoke, observe without being seen, gather intelligence while appearing to check heating ducts or replace light bulbs. What he discovered made his blood run cold. Viktor wasn't alone. Apartment 4205 was receiving encrypted communications through the building's fiber optic network. High-frequency transmissions masked as routine internet traffic. Charlie recognized the signature patterns from NSA briefings he'd attended decades ago. Someone was using Viktor's apartment as a communications hub. More troubling, the building's other residents had no idea they were living above, below, and beside a foreign intelligence operation. Dr. Sarah Coleman, 3rd floor. Federal prosecutor specializing in international terrorism cases. Judge Harrison Webb, 15th floor. Currently presiding over a case involving Russian money laundering. Margaret Liu, 28th floor. Deputy Director of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division. The Meridian wasn't a random target. It was a carefully selected operational environment, and Viktor was here to collect intelligence on residents who posed a threat to his organization. Charlie faced a choice: call his old contacts at Langley or handle this himself. The decision became clear when Charlie found the listening device. Hidden in Dr. Coleman's bathroom vent during routine maintenance, a device so sophisticated it wouldn't show up on standard bug sweeps. Viktor had been busy, but there was something else. A secondary device in the vent, something Charlie almost missed. A small explosive charge, enough to create a fatal gas leak if needed. Viktor wasn't just gathering intelligence. He was preparing to eliminate targets. Charlie couldn't call Langley. Official channels meant investigations, evacuations, media attention. The Meridian's residents would be exposed, vulnerable, relocated to safe houses while bureaucrats debated jurisdiction. By then, Viktor would be gone and his targets would be dead. This had to be handled off the books, old school. The way Charlie had handled it in Prague, Charlie spent 3 days planning. Viktor's patterns were predictable, but his tradecraft was professional. Any approach had to appear natural, coincidental. Charlie chose the building's laundry room in the basement, Tuesday evening, 9 p.m. Viktor's apartment was directly above the main electrical panel, and Charlie had detected unusual power draws that suggested surveillance equipment. Routine maintenance would give him legitimate access to the basement. He armed himself with tools that served double purposes: a pipe wrench that could crack skulls, cable ties that could restrain wrists, a voltage tester that could disable electronics. At 8:55 p.m., Charlie descended to the basement. At 9:03 p.m., Viktor appeared. "You've gotten old, Charlie." Viktor's voice carried the same slight accent Charlie remembered from Prague. Educated, cultured, deadly. Charlie didn't turn around. He continued checking the electrical panel, his hand near the voltage tester. "Most people do, Viktor. It's what happens when you don't die young. I was wondering when you'd make contact. Took you long enough to notice." Viktor stepped closer. Charlie could feel the presence, the predatory stillness of a man calculating angles and distances. Prague was business, Charlie. Nothing personal. Felt personal when you put Maria in that car. Silence. Charlie finally turned around. Viktor looked exactly as Charlie remembered. Cold blue eyes, thin smile, the confidence of a man who had never lost a game that mattered. But there were new lines around those eyes, a slight tremor in the left hand that spoke of old injuries and hard years. Maria chose her side, Viktor said. Maria was 19 years old. Maria was a CIA asset who compromised my operation. Maria was my partner and my wife. The silence stretched between them like a drawn blade. I know why you're here, Charlie said. The residents upstairs, you're building profiles for elimination. Viktor smiled. You always were direct. And you always were a killer who hid behind sophistication. The world has changed, Charlie. The old rules don't apply. Your government officials think they're safe in their Manhattan towers, but nowhere is safe anymore. These people have families, children. These people have made themselves enemies of my organization. That makes them targets. Charlie moved slightly, positioning himself between Viktor and the stairs. I can't let you do this. You're 70 years old, Charlie. You fix leaky pipes. Your war is over. No, Charlie said quietly. My war just started again. What happened next took 11 seconds. Viktor moved first, drawing a ceramic knife from his jacket sleeve. Charlie had expected it. Viktor had always preferred blades for close work, and ceramic wouldn't set off metal detectors. But Charlie had spent 30 years maintaining a building. His reflexes weren't as fast as they had been in Prague, but his knowledge of leverage, balance, and pressure points was perfect. The pipe wrench caught Viktor's wrist, snapping bone. The knife clattered across the concrete floor. Viktor spun, throwing an elbow that would have crushed Charlie's windpipe, but Charlie was already moving, using Viktor's momentum to drive him into the electrical panel. Sparks flew. The basement lights flickered. Viktor slumped to the floor, unconscious but breathing. Charlie zip-tied his wrists and ankles, then sat heavily on a paint bucket. His heart was hammering, his hands were shaking, and he felt every one of his 70 years, but he was alive, and Viktor wasn't going anywhere. Charlie called his one remaining contact at Langley, a secure number he hadn't used in 15 years, hoping it was still active. This is Martinez. I need a cleanup team. Charlie? Jesus, we thought you were dead. Not yet, but I have a package that needs pickup. High value. Meridian building, basement level, 1 hour. What's the situation? Foreign operative, an assassination plot against federal officials. He's secured, but won't stay unconscious forever. Are you compromised? Charlie looked at Viktor's still form, then at the surveillance equipment scattered across the floor. Not anymore. By morning, Viktor was gone. Official records would show that Vincent Kane had vacated apartment 4205 due to a family emergency. His security deposit would be returned to an account that didn't exist. The listening devices disappeared from Dr. Coleman's apartment during routine maintenance. The explosive charges were neutralized and removed. The encrypted communications equipment vanished as if it had never been there. The Meridian's residents woke up to a normal Wednesday, completely unaware that their superintendent had saved their lives the night before. Charlie received no medal, no recognition, no official acknowledgement. His contact at Langley sent a single text message. Package delivered. Thank you. That was enough. Dr. Coleman stopped by the superintendent's office that afternoon. Charlie, my bathroom fan is working much better since you fixed it yesterday. Whatever you did, it's perfect now. Just cleared out some dust, Charlie said. Old buildings accumulate things in the vents. Well, thank you. I feel much safer in there now, Charlie smiled. That's what I'm here for, Dr. Coleman. Keeping everyone safe. She had no idea how literally he meant it. That evening, Charlie sat in his small basement apartment looking at a photograph he hadn't touched in 20 years. Maria, laughing in a Prague cafe, unaware that she had only 3 days left to live. Viktor was in a CIA black site by now, probably somewhere in Eastern Europe. There would be debriefings, interrogations, intelligence exploitation. The network he'd been part of would be rolled up, operations would be compromised, and lives would be saved, but Maria would still be dead. Charlie put the photograph away and picked up his maintenance schedule for tomorrow. Mrs. Patterson on 12 was having trouble with her garbage disposal. The elevator in the West Wing needed its monthly inspection. Normal problems that required normal solutions. He was good at solving problems, always had been. Some problems just took longer than others. 6 months later, Charlie received a package with no return address. Inside was a newspaper clipping from a Prague tabloid. Former KGB officer dies in prison accident. The accompanying photograph showed Viktor Kozlov's face, 20 years older than Charlie remembered, but unmistakable. At the bottom of the clipping, someone had written in pencil, "Some debts are eventually paid. A friend." Charlie burned the clipping and went back to work. The Meridian was a building that required constant maintenance, after all. And Charlie Martinez was very, very good at his job. In a world where luxury apartments hide deadly secrets, where international espionage plays out in marble lobbies, and where the most dangerous people often look the most ordinary, sometimes the best protection comes from the most unexpected sources. Real guardians don't wear badges or carry credentials. They carry keys, fix broken things, and remember everything. Charlie Martinez had spent 30 years keeping the Meridian running smoothly. But his most important repair work had nothing to do with pipes or electrical systems. Some problems require specialized tools, some fixes require specialized skills, and sometimes the superintendent knows exactly how to handle both.